you're in a lot of trouble. You've got to trust these people, like, significantly. Not only just from that perspective, but also in your business dealings. What's the point of having a business partner if I don't trust him to go and do his side of the job?
Welcome everyone to the Tej Talks YouTube channel. I have Andy Camp with me again for our little mini series. So it's quite like a big series now, like a kind of thing you binge on Netflix. We are going to be talking about business partners. Andy has a business partner.
Yep.
I think technically I do have a business partner, James, in our kind of events and training business, but I don't really have a property business partner. I think we're going to have different views on this, so maybe even opposing views. So this is going to be a really interesting discussion. So Andy, let's start at the beginning. Once upon a time, you didn't have a business partner.
No.
What made you, were you looking for one?
Not initially. I was pretty much, I didn't think I needed it, didn't think I cared for it. No, it wasn't something that was on my radar.
So you wasn't looking for love, you just stumbled into it. This is like an advert for a date. No, I didn't know, and then I met him. And how did you meet your business partner?
Just networking. Accidentally, I mean, we'll go through this a bit, but I started off, like I said, not interested at all, and then I'd done a few projects, and that's when the point I started going, okay, I need to start looking for someone who I can work with, and scale up a bit with. So yeah, that's where it went.
And you know, from that first chance meeting at a networking event, where you don't get to speak for a huge amount of time, was the topic of business partnering discussed, or was it just like a pure networking, and then later on you came back to it?
Yeah, it was pure networking initially. I think we met up a few times as mates. We're both entrepreneurs in the sense that we've got other businesses. That was our passion, and we were just sharing stuff initially. And I think, it just progressed from there. I think it was never like, I'm looking for a business partner. Here's my CV. It was very much, this is something I'm thinking about. Let's get out there and meet some interesting people. And from there it snowballed a bit. It was a long old process though.
Why was it long?
I think it's super important. You can't, committing to a business with some person off a networking event, I can't understand it.
Yeah, I can't either.
It's a huge commitment. It's a lot. You're tied in with this person.
Commercially, credit score, everything.
Everything. If they go bankrupt, you're in a lot of trouble. You've got to trust these people, like, significantly. Not only just from that perspective, but also in your business dealings. What's the point of having a business partner if I don't trust him to go and do his side of the job?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. And then, in this process of kind of getting to know each other, was there a point where you both, or maybe you, sort of were actively kind of vetting him? Because sometimes you're chatting to people and you're not thinking about it, but then sometimes you're like, this could work, and then you start to sort of vet did that happen, or was it just...
I don't know. I think you kind of, the nice thing about property in the sense is that there's less commitment in it in property than there is in some other businesses. So if you start a manufacturing business, that's the business, it's done. In property, you can kind of go deal by deal a little bit.
Yeah, you can.
So I think that was the initial kind of chat. We become mates, we were chatting a lot more, and then kind of after a while, like, oh, well, if you get anything interesting, like, let's have a look at it together kind of thing.
And then, how did that then become more formalised, I suppose?
I think so. It was actually a bit accidental in our sense. I think we found a big deal that you'd just been round in Letchworth.
Oh yes, yeah.
So that was start of 2019.
And you completed last week or last month or something?
2 weeks ago.
That video is out on my YouTube. People go check it.
So that was 16 months in conveyancing, something like that.
16 months. 16. Did you hear that?
That was a nightmare. But anyway, so that was funnily enough, that was the first deal we started looking at together.
Oh, okay. Oh, you go so far back then, yeah.
And we kind of, toying with it, and we were toying with a load of different scenarios, and we worked on that deal together, and initially we were talking about, let's do this deal. That was exciting. Next thing we know, we're sending each other another deal. We're sending each other another deal. Then we're slowly kind of working together a few days a week, pretty much.
Okay.
And actually, we've done that quite consistently for a good few months, because the reality of this game is you can't just buy a property and be like, right, let's go.
Oh, not the good ones anyway, no.
So we started off on a couple of small projects together, which are coming to a close now. Went perfectly. We're still sussing each other out a bit, but and then we started jumping to bigger and bigger deals.
And how did you know? Because you said about meeting someone at a networking event and the next day, hey, we're JVing everyone, which is the classic post you see. Not so much anymore though. I don't know if COVID obviously changed the networking scene, but like how we met on Zoom and now we're like, commercially in bed together. Like, what was it about him, and I suppose maybe what did he think about you that, made you think, what, this can work, I think we can be good business partners? Was there some traits or personality things or anything he showed?
100%. I think when you've been doing this kind of work for a good few years, you can clock someone who's like-minded really quickly.
Yeah, 100%.
You can quickly see someone who's willing to put in the graft, someone who's not going to like hide away when there's a problem, someone who's going to just jump in the deep end with you, kind of thing. And they're all quite hard to kind of make a tangible kind of list or whatever you want. I think that's the first thing, is like you instantly know with someone if we could probably work quite well, and I respect this person. It's probably the key bit, right? Yeah,
I think it's kind of like, I think a lot of his gut feeling, maybe what you're describing, because it's like, I don't know what he's doing, what he said, but it clocks, it ticks, it kind of fits in of what you'd expect, and then you'll meet other people and say, I like you, but we could never work together. Or some other people, I don't like you, and we definitely work together.
Yeah.
And so I think when you're starting out, because like you said there, you have experience in this game to then, know when someone's bullshitting or whatever. If you're just starting out, you haven't got the experience, and you're trying to figure out, well, who's going to be my business partner, but you don't even know what the business is you're getting into business about, and I think it gets really hard. And we're going to talk about kind of like equity versus investors, because I think to a lot of people, well, why don't you JV, business partners for your first deal to get investors? But it's a good point there that actually, well, how do you know without you yourself knowing this industry who's going to be good for you? So I think gut feeling is really important there. And in terms of the formal process, is there anything you did in terms of like looking at each other's credit scores, IDs, was there like a full commercial sort of exchange of sorts?
I think we both looked at each other's stuff privately and openly a bit. 100%. You've got, like we said, you're getting into bed with someone. So we definitely looked at a lot of that stuff. We both got a lot of stuff going on. So it's quite evident of success in that sense.
Yeah.
So he can see a lot of my deals that are going on. My business model is very different to me, and we can come on to that, but he's got some quite significant businesses that he runs as well.
He's giving me a free MOT, isn't he?
Don't know whether I get a free MOT. But yeah, so I think in that sense it was quite evident. In that,
And I think people watching it, if it's not evident, don't be afraid, because I did this with James. I said to him, give me your ID, proof of address, full credit report, I was like, have you missed payments? Like basically what you do with tenants in a sense. Everything in there. And if I doubted any purchases, I would say, let's exchange title deeds, or let's go on company's house, which you can do anyway. But you need to be sure, because it is very easy for me to say, Andy, give me your keys. I just want to do some filming and something. Give me the keys. I'll take you there and be like, yo, look at this £1 million development. You ain't got a fucking clue, unless you've seen the YouTube video, but you haven't got a clue whose it is. And I can just say, yeah, he's a business partner. He owns like 2% of the company. He's just janitor. So just do what you need to do to feel comfortable, right? Some people may not need that. Some people may be happy with less, but people need to be comfortable. And you mentioned there that you're quite different to your business partner. So do you sort of complement each other? How do you think it works with your personalities and abilities?
Yeah, I think that was the next key bit for me. It was 2 + 2 has to equal more than 4 when you're working with a business partner. Otherwise, what's the point? It's a good phrase. Might tag that.
Yeah.
Like you have to compound each other. Like otherwise, there's no point. Just carry on with what you're doing. So we had to be very different than we really are.
How so?
He's scaled some big businesses. He's very process driven. He's excellent at creating process and building basically the backbone of the business. I'm a lot more, you might say front end, but my experience is a lot more in construction and in actually implementation for the kind of property side, executing the deals that we're doing. So in that sense, we operate quite separately in some senses, but he takes a lot of business that I really hate, and I suppose I do the same for him.
I think that's a good kind of summary, and I always say to people, if you don't like something, outsource it. It doesn't have to be a VA or a PA, it could be a different way,
I suppose, yeah.
Because that element of the business, like I struggle with the part he's really good at, and so I know if I ever look for a business partner in property, I want them to be the opposite of me. Like, in fact, I want them to have that, and I want them to have what you have. So I kind of want both of you.
You don't want to work, do you?
That's the one. So I would JV with someone who is a project manager or QS. That would be my perfect JV.
Yeah.
I'd never be on site. I'd do some content and pictures.
Yeah.
See you later. You carry on. You deal with these jokers. I got them involved in that. So for people kind of watching, maybe look for someone that complements your skills. When you are working with a business partner or a JV, normally there's a discussion of who's putting money in. How does it work with you two? Are you both putting money in? Is it always other investors? How can it work?
Yeah, again, another thing we talked about originally was you've got to go halves and stuff. As soon as you start splitting equity stakes up, it's going to be a tension later on. Unless you're just doing one deal and then that's it. If you're trying to build a long-term thing, you've got to...
Yeah.
You can't not penny pinch, but you can't look at, well, I bring this and you only bring that, and that value is this much more, or whatever that is. You've got to go in for the long haul, and you've got to go in equal and work equal and take equal responsibility. And I think that was the first thing that we thought. And again, we were both in a position where we had some cash that we could chuck into deals. We raise a lot of money through private finance as well. Sometimes we go to banks. But yeah, everything for us is a conversation of, do we want to take this on? Have we both got enough to do our share together in equal part? And if not, that's fine. We take a hit on it and we move on, or we try and raise it completely. That's the way we go at it. Sometimes there's a little bit of push and pull. Some might put a little bit more in, but our aim is to try and keep it equal, just because it's a lot cleaner. It's a lot. It's a lot cleaner that way, I think. And
are you doing deals separately, or is it all everything?
Again, it's another interesting debate, and it's something we've gone through. Is how do you work on other things that takes your time away from your full-time business that's together? It's a really difficult, and everyone will be different with this. But again,
some people do. They say, well, actually, this one doesn't really work for us. It's a little buy-to-let. I'm going to do it myself. But business partners, we only do flips or new builds or something. So it is tricky, though.
I think the key there is just you've got to talk it out, and you have to be open enough with that person to be able to go, I'm not alright with that, or that's totally fine.
Yeah, and that's that communication thing, and that's the kind of clarity of, I suppose at the beginning, setting your JV agreement, proper getting written by solicitor. They can cost thousands of pounds, people. They can cost like tens of, some mad prices I was quoted. Getting that written and actually understanding the responsibilities, like going through them, like, for this event we're doing, I said, look, this is exactly what you're doing, here's exactly what I'm doing, here's where they overlap, are we both comfortable with this? Because then later down the line, people can't sort of say, oh, I don't want to do that, or it's kind of like, it's kind of what we talked about, this is the plan. So I think it's nice to have something to stick to, not necessarily to be 100%, it can evolve, but to kind of know where your split is and to agree with that. And for you as business partners, last question, what is your strategy, your focus? Are you selling stuff, you're holding stuff? Like, where's this business going to be in 5 years?
We're trying to hold everything we can. Tez laughs at me a bit for that.
You see the profit that he gets when he sells it, yeah? When you see the video, you're going to be commenting the same thing.
I think it's a really difficult balance, this stuff. I think the game we're all in is we have to make a punt of like, where will this property be in 10, 20 years time? Yeah. And what's my lifestyle right now?
Yes.
And we have to try and merge those two things. And I think, for me, I'm not the type of person to go and like flash loads of cash around, so I'm not that fussed. I'm where I'm at and I'm happy with it. So for me, it's a bit of a longer game. It's how much can I hold? How much can I pull in? So yeah, we're developing out. We're doing commercial conversions. We're doing some new builds. Doing a load of holiday lets up in Norfolk. That's kind of our core three things that we're doing. And yeah, we're trying to hold what we can. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. We're doing some quite high end, like large houses, new builds, and I don't think they will make sense if we get to do that.
Yeah, I think they'd be nicer to sellers. The yield would be
it'd be like a couple of %, if that. And I think that's part of it. You've got to play the game, and you've got to take the punches as they come. But I think our overall strategy is we want to hold what we can, but we're holding it pretty loosely in that sense.
Love it. And everyone watching this, I will pretty much be videoing all of these properties as they go along, because I clearly got nothing to do and it's so local. I will not be in Norfolk though, that just That's too far. Unless we spend a day at the beach.
Yeah.
So maybe
holiday.
Yeah, maybe we'll go to Norfolk. So please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, like, and follow Andy on Instagram. I'll put his link in the show note. You can just click it and go straight and hit follow.